The desert sun had long surrendered to the moon's pale dominion when I stepped out from the shadowed alcove, the city around me already alive with the quiet pulse of glass and light. The domes above stretched like great crystalline breaths, shifting imperceptibly with the moon's slow dance curves bending, angles sharpening, the whole city reshaping itself in a slow, fluid rhythm that whispered secrets only those who watched closely could hear. I moved with the practiced ease of someone born between these shifting walls, a thief by necessity, a shadow by choice. The streets beneath the glass shimmered faintly, reflecting the silver moonlight in fractured shards that danced across the worn stone and polished glass surfaces. My boots made no sound against the cold, smooth floor as I slipped through the narrow alleys, my dark eyes catching every flicker of movement, every whisper of breath. Trust was a currency I'd long since learned to hoard and spend sparingly. The city's surface glittered with the illusion of order and beauty, but beneath that veneer lurked dangers, both human and otherwise. I was no stranger to the underbelly, to the hidden crevices where light bent and stories folded into shadows. Tonight, the air held a different charge, a subtle tension that prickled along my skin like a warning. My fingers brushed absent-mindedly against the glass like adornments woven into my clothes, tiny fragments that caught and fractured the moonlight, a camouflage, a talisman, a reminder of who I was and where I belonged. I paused atop a narrow ledge overlooking the bustling market square below. Figures moved like ghosts beneath the domes, their faces obscured by the play of light and shadow. The glass pulsed softly, a living thing responding to the moon's phases, bending and stretching as if breathing beneath the surface. The city was alive, and I was a part of its shifting heartbeat, but it was not the surface that drew me tonight. It was the promise of something deeper, something hidden beneath the glittering streets. I slipped away from the crowd, following the faint hum that only those who listened closely could discern. It led me to a forgotten alley, half swallowed by shadows and dust. Here, the glass floor was older, cracked in places, and as I crouched low, my fingers traced the faintest seam, a subtle warping that betrayed the presence of something beneath. A chill ran down my spine as the air shifted, cooler now, carrying with it a whisper that seemed to echo from the depths below. The scene glimmered faintly, alive with a strange energy that set my heart pounding. With a practiced hand, I pushed against the glass. It yielded, sliding open silently to reveal a dark stairwell spiraling down into the unknown, the entrance to a labyrinth, alive and breathing beneath the city's glittering skin. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my ears prophecies woven in glass and shadow, promises of death and destiny intertwined. I hesitated only a moment before the lure of the labyrinth pulled me in, the moonlight fading behind me as I stepped into the shifting depths below. This was no ordinary maze. It was a living thing, a puzzle of glass and illusion that would test every skill I had honed in the city above. And somewhere within its twisting corridors, the truth I sought awaited about the city, about the domes, and about the fate that clung to me like a second skin. The night swallowed me whole, and the labyrinth whispered my name. The air was cooler beneath the city, the warmth of the desert sun muffled by the thick glass dome overhead. I knelt at the threshold of the hidden entrance, fingers tracing the jagged edge of a translucent pane that shimmered like liquid silver. The narrow stairway spiraled downward, swallowed by shadows and the faint hum of shifting glass. My breath caught, the familiar sting of adrenaline sharpening my senses. This was no ordinary place. The labyrinth breathed. I stepped forward, the glass beneath my worn boots resonating softly, as if alive. Corridors stretched and twisted ahead, their walls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen that refracted moonlight into fractured rainbows. The shifting domes above had whispered their secrets for years, but this was something else entirely. A whisper curled through the air, barely audible at first. Words fragmented like shards of a broken promise. Death awaits beneath the glass. The sound was both distant and intimate, threading into my mind with a subtle insistence. I froze, dark eyes scanning the labyrinth's twisting paths. Was the maze speaking to me? Or was my mind unraveling in the oppressive silence? The glass walls seemed to pulse rhythmically, bending and folding as if breathing. I caught my reflection in a pane, a lean figure cloaked in shadows and dust, eyes sharp and wary. But the image flickered, distorting into a fractured memory. A younger me, clutching a shattered toy beneath a sky fractured like the city's domes. The event that stole my family flashed like a ghost, and a cold knot tightened in my chest. I forced myself onward, instincts prickling as the corridor shifted beneath my feet. Suddenly, a section of the floor slid away, revealing a trap of glass spikes shimmering with menace. My heart hammered as I leapt sideways, landing with a muted thud. The glass closed behind me, sealing the trap's maw. The labyrinth tested me already. The whispers grew more urgent, weaving through the maze like a tide of voices. They spoke of fate, of shadows, of a death bound to the shifting city. But beneath the dread, a fragile thread of hope whispered back. Perhaps the prophecy was not set in stone. Every step felt weighted with meaning. Every reflection, a puzzle piece of my past and future. The glass labyrinth was no mere structure. It was a sentient enigma, a living mirror of my fears and desires. I was both its prisoner and its seeker. As I ventured deeper, the maze seemed to respond to my presence. Corridors rearranged, walls slid apart and closed like the pulse of a heartbeat. The boundary between illusion and reality blurred until I could no longer distinguish my own thoughts from the labyrinth's murmurs. A sudden glimmer caught my eye, a pane reflecting not my face, but a fleeting image of the city's shifting domes, fractured and whole all at once. The whispers coalesced into a single phrase: change is possible. I swallowed hard, the weight of prophecy pressing down, but the spark of defiance flared within me. I was not yet finished with this city, nor with the secrets it held beneath its glass veil. The labyrinth awaited, alive and watching. And so was I. I moved forward, the whispers echoing in my mind, guiding and warning as the glass breathed around me, shaping my destiny, one shifting step at a time. The labyrinth breathed around me, a living thing made of shards and whispers. I pressed my palm against the cool glass wall, feeling the faint pulse beneath the surface, as if the maze itself was alive, watching, waiting. The twisting corridors reflected my image in broken fragments, each mirror shard offering a glimpse not only of me, but of memories I had long tried to bury. I stepped closer to a fractured mirror that stretched from floor to ceiling, its surface rippling faintly like water disturbed by a breeze. My reflection fractured into dozens of shards, each one shimmering with a different scene. At first, I saw only darkness, the shadowed streets where I had learned to survive, the cold nights beneath the glittering domes. But then the images sharpened, revealing moments from a past I had tried to forget. There was the narrow alley where I had first stolen a silver coin from a distracted merchant, my small hands trembling with fear and excitement. The sharp edge of a broken glass dome loomed above, reflecting the pale moonlight. Then, almost imperceptibly, the scenes shifted. I saw the faces of figures. I barely remembered ghostly echoes of a family lost to a night swallowed by shattered glass and desert wind. A chill crept along my spine as a vision took hold. The night the domes cracked, the city's gleaming protectors turned traitor in the moonlight. I was small then, hiding beneath a vendor's stall as the world fractured around me. Glass rained like falling stars, sharp and cold. Screams mingled with the desert howl, and through it all, I felt the weight of loss settle deep inside me. My parents gone, swallowed by the chaos. I blinked, and the vision dissolved. The labyrinth whispered again, its voice a soft susurration that wrapped around my thoughts. Was this cruelty or guidance? The maze's intentions remained a mystery, yet I could not tear my gaze away from the mirrors. They were the only maps I had in this shifting prison. Moving cautiously, I traced the edges of a mirror with my fingers, feeling the cool glass ripple beneath my touch. The reflection bent and shifted, revealing hidden passages beyond the obvious corridors. Using these reflections, I began to chart a course through the maze, each mirrored fragment a clue in the labyrinth's living puzzle. But with every step, doubt gnawed at me. Were these visions true, or illusions designed to trap me in despair? The prophecy of my death echoed in the glass whispers, a shadow that stretched long and cold. Yet beneath the dread, a stubborn flame flickered, a defiant hope that I might rewrite the story, shatter the fate the labyrinth sought to impose. I crouched in a quiet alcove, the air cool and still, the only sound the faint murmur of glass shifting somewhere deeper in the maze. My breath fogged the surface of a small mirror shard cradled in my palm, and I whispered back to the labyrinth. If destiny is written in glass, then I will be the one to break it. The shards around me shimmered softly, as if listening. I was no longer just a thief navigating shadows. I was a seeker, a challenger of fate. And as the moonlight filtered through the shifting domes above, casting fractured light across the labyrinth's endless corridors, I stepped forward, ready to face whatever reflections awaited me next. The past was a mirror, cracked and bleeding light. But I would not be broken. Not yet. The labyrinth's illusions might twist and turn, but I held the spark of something stronger hope forged in the glass. And with every reflection, every whispered secret, I was learning to see not just what was, but what might be. A new path was forming beneath my feet, fragile as the glass, but real. The maze awaited my choice, and I was no longer afraid to walk into its heart. The air beneath the glass domes was thick, with a scent of heated sand and dust, even though the towering structures above promised shelter from the desert's bite. I slipped silently through narrow alleys, my boots barely making a sound on the worn cobblestones. The moon hung low, its pale light bending and fracturing through the translucent domes above, painting the city with shards of silver and blue. Every night, the city seemed to breathe differently, its glass walls whispering secrets I was desperate to hear, but wary to trust. I moved with practiced stealth, shadows folding around me like a cloak. The labyrinth's entrance still lingered in my mind, a secret pulse beneath the city's glittering streets. But tonight, the maze's whispers were different, urgent, layered with a menace I couldn't ignore. That's when I noticed the figure watching me from a distance, his posture relaxed but alert. Tall and broad-shouldered, cloaked in muted earth tones that contrasted with the city's shimmer. He looked out of place, yet somehow part of the same broken puzzle, looking for trouble. He called softly, stepping forward as I paused to assess him. I narrowed my eyes. Depends on who's asking. He smiled faintly, a weathered kind of warmth beneath his guarded exterior. Nail. I used to walk the city's guards' paths. Now I walk the shadows. I know things about the labyrinth, about the city's secrets. If you want to survive, you'll listen. Suspicion prickled beneath my skin. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, not with the glassmaster weaving his web so close. Yet something in Neil's steady gaze made me hesitate. Why help me? I challenged. Because the city's dying. And so are the lies that hold it together. We both want answers. Reluctantly, I nodded. Together, we slipped deeper into the maze of alleys, the city's shifting glass walls reflecting our cautious alliance. Neil's words were fragments of a larger truth: political schemes, power struggles, and a growing fear that the glassmaster's reach was far more insidious than I'd imagined. The night tightened around us. Suddenly, sharp edges gleamed in the dark, shadowy glass constructs, silent and deadly, descended like predators. Our breaths caught. Without thinking, I grabbed Neil's arm, pulling him into a narrow side passage, where the moonlight fractured into dizzying patterns on the walls. "Keep moving," he urged, voice low but urgent. We wove through twisting corridors, the labyrinth alive with shifting illusions that threatened to trap us. My heart pounded, every sense heightened as we dodged the cold, razor-like forms that seemed to hunt us. Finally, panting and bruised, we emerged onto a rooftop overlooking the city's shimmering expanse. The domes above twisted subtly with the moon's slow progress, casting kaleidoscopic light over us. Nail turned to me, eyes reflecting the fractured glow. "We're in this together now. The Glassmaster won't stop until he controls every whisper, every shadow." I met his gaze, the weight of the night pressing down, but beneath it, a fragile hope stirred. Maybe this alliance was the key, not just to survival, but to reshaping the destiny the labyrinth whispered so darkly. "Then we'll have to be smarter than him," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside. The city held its breath, the glass dome shifting once more, and beneath them, two unlikely allies prepared to face the maze's cruel game. But trust was a fragile thing in a world built on shifting glass, and the shadows promised that nothing was ever as it seemed. As the distant echo of footsteps faded, I couldn't shake the feeling that the labyrinth was watching, waiting for the moment to test our fragile bond. And I wasn't sure if we were ready. The night stretched on, heavy with possibility and danger, and I knew that every choice from here on would ripple through the shimmering city like a crack through glass, sharp, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. The game had changed, and so had I, but the question remained, whispered by the shifting walls. How far could I trust an ally born of shadows? The answer, like the labyrinth itself, was hidden just beyond reach, waiting to be uncovered. The moon hung low, a pale guardian casting cold light through the shifting glass domes above, as I slipped beneath the city's glittering streets. Tonight, the labyrinth called louder than ever, its glass corridors humming with a promise of secrets and shadows. I had heard whispers, rumors of the Glassmaster, but nothing prepared me for the weight of his presence. The air inside the labyrinth was colder here, brittle and sharp like the edges of the glass pillars that surrounded me. They stretched impossibly high, refracting the moonlight into fractured rainbows that danced across the floor and walls. I moved cautiously, every step measured, my breath a quiet rhythm in the vast silence. The shifting glass beneath my fingers felt alive, pulsing with a strange energy, as if the maze itself was breathing, watching. Then, from the silence, came a faint metallic whisper. I froze, senses sharpening. The glass around me began to warp and slide, the pillars shifting in unnatural ways. From the depths of the hall, shards separated and reassembled, swirling into shapes that defied logic. Shadowy constructs of glass, their edges razor-sharp, their movements fluid but predatory. They advanced toward me, glinting menacingly. I ducked behind a pillar, heart hammering as the constructs scraped against the floor with a sound like 1,000 knives. The labyrinth's whispers grew louder, indistinct but urgent, as if warning me. I pulled a small mirror from my pocket, angling it to reflect the incoming shards. Their own reflections confused them, causing hesitation, buying me precious seconds. A tall figure emerged from the shadows then, his presence commanding the entire hall. The Glassmaster. His armor was a masterpiece of fractured glass, jagged yet perfectly balanced, catching the moonlight and splintering it into 1,000 shards of light. His face was hidden behind a reflective mask that showed a distorted image of the labyrinth itself, endless corridors folding into one another. "You tread where fate forbids," he said, his voice a cold echo that seemed to reverberate through the glass walls. "This labyrinth is not yours to command, thief. Destiny is a thread I hold firm." I met his gaze, the dark behind his mask swallowing any hint of humanity. Destiny isn't a cage, Glassmaster. It's a choice, and I choose to break free." He laughed then, a sound like glass shattering. With a wave of his hand, the glass construct surged forward, sharper and faster, slicing through the air with lethal intent. I ran, my mind racing as I used every trick I knew, every shard and reflection to mislead them. The maze shifted with me, corridors bending and twisting, but the constructs adapted swiftly, relentless in their pursuit. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I darted through narrow passages, the cold bite of glass grazing my skin. Behind me, the Glassmaster's voice lingered, a chilling reminder of the stakes. You cannot escape what is written. But I wasn't ready to surrender. I led the constructs into a confined space where their movements became restricted. With a desperate cry, I smashed fragments of glass against one another, shattering them into harmless splinters. The maze pulsed with tension, the illusions cracking at the edges. Breathless, I slipped through a hidden crevice in the wall, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and defiance. The labyrinth's whisper softened, the prophecy still hanging in the air, but no longer as certain. I had glimpsed the Glassmaster's reach, vast and terrifying, but also its weakness. The city above shifted with the moon, but here beneath the domes, a different battle was unfolding. One not just of survival, but of control over the fragile glass threads of fate itself. And I was determined to unravel them, no matter the cost. The labyrinth awaited, alive and ever-changing. But so was I, as I caught my breath in the dim light. The echo of the Glassmaster's parting words haunted me. This is only the beginning, Sira. And I knew, deep in the shifting glass of my soul, that the game had just begun. The cold light of the moon filtered through the fractured glass dome above, casting erratic shadows across the polished floors of the labyrinth's vast chamber. The silence was thick enough to taste, broken only by the soft scrape of glass shards sliding across stone. Here, in the heart of the maze, the rules were different. The glass was both cage and weapon, an endless mirror reflecting my fears and hopes. I tightened my grip on the small dagger at my side, the blade etched with faint patterns that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Every step was a gamble, every breath a whispered prayer. The Glassmaster's constructs had chased me through twisting halls and narrow corridors, manifestations of his will, cold, precise, and merciless. I paused beneath a towering pillar that split the moonlight into shards of color. The maze shifted again, the walls rippling like water, distorting the space around me. I caught my reflection in a sliver of glass, my dark eyes gleaming with determination. The prophecy was no longer a chain. It was a challenge. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. The Glassmaster, his presence as imposing as the labyrinth itself. His fractured armor glinted ominously, every movement fracturing the light into a kaleidoscope of menace. Behind his reflective mask, his eyes were unreadable, but I could feel the weight of his obsession pressing down. "Why do you resist, Sira?" His voice was a calm tempest. "The labyrinth chooses, and you are merely its pawn." "Then I will break the board," I replied, voice steady despite the fear knotting my stomach. I refuse to be a pawn in any game. He smiled then, a cold, shattered smile. "Very well. Let us see if your will is as unbreakable as your spirit." With a wave of his hand, the glass pillars around us began to twitch and shift, shards peeling away and reforming into jagged humanoid shapes. The constructs moved with unnatural grace, their edges gleaming with lethal intent. The battle was not one of swords or fists, but of wits and agility. I darted through the shifting maze, using mirrors and reflections to confuse the glass beasts. Every corner held new dangers, every step a test of my cunning. The labyrinth itself seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if feeding on the tension between the Glassmaster and me. In a narrow passage, I forced the constructs to collide, their sharp edges shattering into harmless fragments. My breath came in ragged gasps, heart pounding not just from exertion, but from the unyielding defiance burning inside me. The Glassmaster's words echoed in the glass around me, but I refused to listen. I had glimpsed the true nature of the labyrinth, and the power it held. But more than that, I had glimpsed my own strength, a fragile hope that perhaps destiny was not written in the shifting glass, but forged by those brave enough to shatter the illusions. The moon shifted in the sky above, and with it, the labyrinth's corridors realigned. I stepped forward into the unknown, the weight of the Glassmaster's gaze heavy on my back, but the fire of my resolve brighter than ever. This was my story now. Not whispered in glass, but carved in defiance. The Glassmaster's reach was long, his control over the labyrinth near absolute. Yet, in that cold, fractured hall, I had found a crack, a glimmer of possibility. As I slipped deeper into the maze's twisting heart, I could feel the labyrinth's whispered prophecies bending, no longer fixed but fluid, like the very glass that surrounded us. I didn't know what awaited me next, only that I would face it on my own terms. The city above shifted with the moon, fragile and beautiful. And beneath it all, I was no longer just a thief in the shadows. I was a force reshaping the destiny whispered in glass. The glass shards settled into stillness once more, but my story was far from over. The labyrinth was alive, dangerous, and unpredictable. And so was I. The game had begun, and I was ready to play. The air within the labyrinth shifted as I stepped into the chamber, the walls bending light like liquid glass. Every breath I took seemed to ripple the reflections around me, fracturing the space into a kaleidoscope of colors and shadows. My heart quickened, not from fear, but from the strange allure that pulled me deeper into the maze's embrace. A soft shimmer caught my eye, a figure emerging from the fractured light, as if woven from the very glass that surrounded us. She was delicate, almost ethereal, her translucent skin capturing and refracting the shifting hues like a prism. Her silvery robes flowed around her in waves that seemed more liquid than fabric, moving with a rhythm that echoed the labyrinth's pulse. "Welcome, Sierra," her voice whispered, a sound both distant and close, like a melody carried on the wind through cracked glass. "You tread paths few dare to walk." I swallowed, my instincts flaring. "Who are you?" I demanded, though my voice felt small against the vastness of the chamber. She tilted her head, eyes glinting with an unsettling calm. "I am Liora, keeper of the labyrinth's veil. I see the threads that bind fate and choice, the illusions that cloud the eye, and the truths that hide beneath." Her words wrapped around me like smoke, elusive and intangible. I took a cautious step forward, eyes locked on her shifting form. "What do you want from me?" "To guide," she replied softly, "or to test. The line is thin as the glass that holds this city together." I reached out, fingers trembling slightly as I brushed toward her robes. My hand passed through the shimmering fabric, as though it were mist, cool and intangible. A flicker of frustration sparked inside me. Was she real, or merely another trick of the labyrinth? Liora smiled, a strange curve of lips that held secrets and sorrow. "You seek certainty, but here certainty is a mirage. The labyrinth breathes and shifts, so too must you." Her gaze bore into mine, and for a moment the chamber stilled. The whispers I had heard before, the murmurs of prophecy and doom seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet that thrummed with possibility. "Tell me," I said, voice firmer now, "do I have a choice? Or is my fate as fixed as the glass domes above?" Liora's eyes shimmered like fractured light. "Choice is the dance of shadows and light. Destiny is not a chain, but a path that bends with each step taken." Before I could respond, her form began to dissolve, scattering into a cascade of shimmering shards that drifted upward like a gentle rain of glass. The chamber dimmed, the colors fading, until only the cold echo of her words remained. Alone once more, I pressed my palm to the cool wall, feeling the pulse of the labyrinth beneath my fingertips. Illyra's visit unsettled me. Her presence was a riddle wrapped in beauty and danger, a mirror reflecting both hope and doubt. Was she friend or foe, guide or guardian? I clenched my fists, the weight of the maze's whispers heavier now, yet beneath it all, a fragile hope stirred. The line between illusion and reality blurred, but I would walk it. I had to. For in this shifting glass city, amid the veils of shadow and light, my destiny awaited, not written in stone or glass, but forged by my own hand. With renewed resolve, I stepped forward, deeper into the labyrinth's heart, ready to face whatever truths and illusions lay ahead.